Hey everyone, Rob Stanley here with 15 Minutes of Growth. And today I got Jeremy Bell from Recom Brands. And we're going to be talking about the 5 steps to basically exit your Amazon business if you're looking to sell. Hey, thanks Jeremy for being on. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. So hi everyone. My name is Jeremy Bell. I'm the Chief M&A Officer at Recom Brands. So we buy and build Amazon FBA businesses. We've been in Amazon since 2016. Started off in retail arbitrage, and we've now moved over to private label and brand building. So perfect, Rob. I might confirm that the presentation is up.
Yep, go ahead.
Ready to go. So the reason what I'm talking about today is really important to you because the sale of your Amazon FBA business can be one of the most important financial events in your life. And how you show up and prepare for that can be the difference between being successful and being rewarded for all your hard years of toil, stress, worrying about late inventory shipments with a river of gold. And I've looked at hundreds of Amazon FBA businesses and spoken to more buyers that I can count. But there's a few simple steps that if you follow, it can put you in really good stead. So let's get into it. So the first step is you've got to get ready. The right time to start preparing for an exit is the day that you started your Amazon business. And the second best time to start preparing for the exit of your Amazon business is the moment that this presentation ends. So get ready. We like to say, get your goat on. Buyers love goat. And what does goat mean? Goat means growth. So when a buyer looks at a business, what we love to see is a business that's growing. So if you're thinking about an exit, start to plan, when a buyer comes and looks at it, have like a nice pipeline of SKUs that the buyer can go and launch. So start working with the factory to develop some new SKUs. Think about launching into new markets, whether it's Europe, whether it's the UK, whether it's eBay or Walmart. Start to get some of those other channels moving and start to think about, other off Amazon growth levers, like building out an Instagram following or an email list, because you can package all of that to a buyer and give it to them, and they'll be really excited by what they can do with your business when you exit it. The second thing is operations. So, the simpler your business is, the easier it is to transition to a buyer. So practically, what does that mean? It means, start to develop standard operating procedures for customer service, how you manage your virtual assistants if you have them, shipping plans, putting inventory orders in. All of that stuff is really useful for potential buyers because it makes it easier to plug in your business. And then the second thing I'd say is storing inventory in your friend's basement isn't necessarily the best thing to do. The first business I bought, I had to go to a garage in Phoenix to count all the inventory, and we had to count it 5 times. So it was a little bit more complicated. So if you can, send your inventory to a 3PL or just send it into FBA. And just simplify your operations. Accounting is key. So if you don't have a CPA, go and hire one. A seller came to me once and I said, how much money do you think your business makes? And he said, $90,000. I said, okay, how much revenue do you make? And he said, 2.4 million. I said, okay, that doesn't feel right at all. There is something wrong there. And when we went through it, it turned out the guy's business made 450,000 profit. And if he'd gone to one of my competitors, they may have bought his business for 300,000, but in the end, it was worth over $1 million. And the owner said, look, I'm actually going to keep this because it's more valuable than what I thought it was worth. So that's super important. Get an accountant, have clean numbers. The other thing I'd say is have one bank account and a credit card. It makes it much easier for any potential buyer to understand what's going on with your cash and your bank accounts. I met one seller once, they had 16 bank accounts. Like, no joke, they had 16 bank accounts, and we just couldn't get our head around what was going on with the financials of the business. And then the last point, the last T in GOAT is trenches. So, I've passed on buying really good businesses because they didn't have a trademark in place. So get your trademark in place, sign up for brand registry, put UPC codes on your products, Enroll in Amazon's transparency program because it'll stop you from getting black hat attacked. All of those good things. It just improves the quality of your business, and buyers love it. So timing to sell or not to sell, like that's the question I get a lot from buyers. And there's probably three different ways to think about it. One, how's the business performed? Two, personally, like where do you sit? And then the third one is the market. So in terms of how the business is performing, buyers value your business based off the trailing 12 months profits. So if you've got like a bunch of great SKUs that you've launched that are high potential, it may make sense for you to kind of wait 6 months to 9 months. Or if you've come off a really strong growth profile, you may be primed to really exit now because you get the full benefit of kind of the growth that your business has delivered. From a personal perspective, like a lot of sellers that I meet, one of the reasons that they're selling their business is because it's kind of outgrown their ability. And by ability, I mean like, they've got a full-time day job and they don't want to go and hire a team and manage them. Sellers can get stressed out by how much money they have tied up in inventory. So personally, if it's the right time for you to exit, that's a big consideration that flows into a lot of Amazon sellers' thinking. And then the last thing I'd say is market. So, the market for selling Amazon businesses right now is really, really hot. If you're on the right side of the impact of COVID, the chances are your Amazon business did really, really well. So, which means strong growth and strong profits. There's $1 billion has come into this space for investors wanting to buy Amazon businesses, which means there's a lot of buyers. So if you could take your business to market, there's a lot of buyers, and that's really good for you. And what that means is 2021 is a golden year to sell your Amazon business. So the time in terms of a timing perspective, like now is perfect.
Yep. Hey, Jeremy, we had a question come in real quick.
Happy.
Person's asking, what are the current multiples?
So that's a great question. It's depending on there's a bunch of factors that kind of play into it, depending on how much profit your business makes. If your business, what I would say as a general theme is multiples have kind of increased by, half a turn. So if your business, 2 years ago, if you were selling your business, someone may have paid 2.5 times for it. Whereas what we're seeing in the market now is the new baseline is sort of 3 to 3.5. If your business does under $1 million in profits, and if your business does over $1 million in profits, then the multiples is anywhere from kind of 3 to kind of 4.5. That's the range. Now, that's not how much cash you get paid up front. Some of that payment will be deferred, but just as a function of how much capital has come into the space, multiples have increased, relative to where they were last year by about half a turn. The other thing I'd say on that is if you do, it is sort of horses for courses and business specific. So, if you want to know how much your business is worth, speak to a bunch of different brokers, reach out to me directly. Me and the team would love to understand more about your business and give you a kind of guide. And there's a great website called Centrica.com, which basically publishes every single Amazon business for sale. And it's really easy for you to track through that website what are the kind of multiples that you can see in the market. Perfect.
All right, keep on going.
Nice one. So in terms of your exit options, there's 2 ways that you can go about it. You can either go and approach a broker to represent you in the sale process, or you can directly approach a buyer like me. So if you go down the broker route, the broker will spend kind of 30 to 60 days, depending on how prepared you are with all your information, preparing your business for sale. They'll help you present your financial accounts properly. They'll introduce you to a lot of buyers, so you can have a lot of conversations with different buyers, which is, that takes more time, but you're canvassing the full market. The key though is make sure you find the right broker. Find the broker who sold a lot of FBA businesses before, not the guy who's selling restaurants or the person who sells gyms. Like, find the broker that has the e-commerce experience because they know the market the best. The other benefit of a broker is they'll help you through the process and guide you. But the thing I would say is like that will cost you. And, commissions can raise, typically 10% is the baseline, and it can scale from there. a good broker will be worth their commission, and it's worth paying. But a bad broker, if they don't do the right job by you, you potentially, it's a lot of money that you could be spending there. The benefit of approaching someone like me directly, a buyer, is, we'll look at your business, and within 2 to 5 days, we'll typically confirm whether or not we're interested and can give you a bid. It's a very focused conversation just between you and the buyer. You can move at your own pace, and there's no commission. So it's attractive for some buyers that are confident, or they just want to go speak to a buyer directly to see how much their business is potentially worth. We'd love to have a chat with you if you're sort of thinking about exiting, and you can reach out directly. So in terms of the types of buyers that you can speak to, so there's aggregators, people like Recom Brands that are building out a portfolio of private label Amazon businesses. There's private equity groups. There's high net worth rich people, doctors, lawyers who just think it's cool to own an Amazon business. And then there are strategics. So that's one Amazon business wanting to buy their competitor or a smaller business. So the key when you speak to buyers is you need to make sure that the buyer has experience buying Amazon businesses. Every time I look at an Amazon business, I know exactly what I need to focus on to make my mind up as to whether or not Recom will buy the business, because we've done a bunch of it. So asking the buyers, have you done this before, is a key question. And what were the issues that you faced when you bought the business? Just try and pull as many different touch points out of the buyer as possible to give you confidence that they know what they're doing. The next one is post-acquisition performance. So Recom, when we buy our businesses, our aim is to grow them by 100%, and that's the track record that we have. And a lot of sellers, they're excited to exit their business, but they've put a lot of hard work into that business and they don't want to see it be run into the ground. It has happened. But post-acquisition performance is really important. And if you come to a group like Recom, we've got the track record to demonstrate that we can do it. Funding, make sure the buyer has the cash in the bank to complete the acquisition, or there's no kind of funding requirement. So if you come to Recom, the cash is in the bank. We don't need any approvals. If we like the business, we'll buy it and we'll pay cash. Other buyers may need financing, and that can cause a problem. The next point is time to close. So really, ask the buyer, what does the underwriting process look like? What does the process to close look like? And the quality of their answer will kind of dictate, do they really know what they're doing, and do they have a plan to underwrite and buy your business? And then the last point is just, are they going to be a good steward of your brand, which sort of goes to post-acquisition performance. Are they going to continue to grow their brand? Are they going to try to take your brand into brick and mortar? That's an important factor for a lot of buyers as well.
Yeah. Jeremy, another question came in.
Yeah.
So we have a person asking, what sets you guys apart from others out there? Because there's other companies out there that buy Amazon companies. Maybe just kind of go over just briefly what set you guys apart. And then also, everybody's listening, hey, we're more than happy to take any more questions. Jeremy is here, and we're more than happy to answer them as we go. Also, be sure to hit that like button. I don't think we've had a person hit that like button yet. So hit that like button and subscribe on YouTube, and keep those questions coming. Ben, we'll get to yours in just a second. Go ahead.
Awesome. So I'd say what separates Recom Brands, to try and simplify it into probably 3 buckets. The first bucket is we've been on Amazon since 2016. So we understand the platform. We've got the experience. We're operators, and we know how to grow these businesses. The first acquisition that we bought, 2 months after close, we got Black Hat attacked. The revenue of that business was down 70%. Everything that could have gone wrong went wrong. We had, 10 seller central cases. A bunch of stuff just happened, was bad. But fast forward after that event happened, fast forward kind of 2 months, the business was back to baseline, and fast forward to where we are today, that business is now up 150%. So because we've been in the Amazon ecosystem for 4 years, since 2016, we've got that Amazon experience. The other thing I'd say is within my team, we've bought a bunch of these Amazon assets before, so we know exactly what to look for. Personally, I've done over $1 billion in M&A transactions. I know exactly what to look for when I'm buying this Amazon business. The second thing I'd say is our track record speaks for itself with buying these businesses and growing them. So that's really important for buyers that are kind of considering, if there's an earnout component involved in the deal that rewards me for kind of post-acquisition performance, how likely am I to get a big, juicy earnout check in a year to 12 months' time? With a group like Recom, we've kind of grown our brands already, so you know that you should be confident that we can do it. And the last thing I'd say is we started out as entrepreneurs when we built this business. There's a bunch of people that are in the space now who are sort of ex-Wall Street guys, and for them, it's just the angle is they want to buy as many of these businesses as possible and be worth, $1 billion. Whereas we look at ourselves more as we're operators, we're entrepreneurs, more like you, and we think that just kind of reflects in the way that we kind of engage with buyers and complete due diligence. So and the other thing I'd say is we've got the cash in the bank, so there's no kind of funding requirements or anything like that.
That's
Perfect.
always important. Yeah. So Ben's asking a question about how much operating history does most businesses you acquire have? Approximately 1 year, or what's kind of that? And thanks for the likes, guys. Keep them coming. But go ahead, Jeremy.
Hey Ben, great question. So we really like businesses where they've got sort of 2 years of track record, because then you know that they haven't. It's just not like a one-off. It's just not a one-off aberration. That said, it is very, it is very kind of just niche specific. So I'll give you an example. I looked at a business once. It had been around for 13 months. They entered a really competitive niche in the office supply. They provided basically just commodity plastic pockets. The business went from zero to kind of, $500,000 of kind of profits in the period of 1 year. But when I got stuck into it, the guy was using every kind of black hat trick under the sun to pump his earnings and pump his reviews. So the longer the operating history, the chances are if you are doing things that fall foul of Amazon, you may have been caught. So that's why we look at businesses that are kind of longer tenure and value those a little bit higher, because we know that there's, if they've been doing things that are kind of, not right according to Amazon's terms of service, they've probably been caught. So longer is better. But it just depends. We launched a business last year. It's been around for, it did $2 million of revenue in the first 4 months. And if we were to sell that business and take it to market, I think everyone would love it because it's in a really attractive new niche. And it's a great business. It's got a really strong review moat and dominates the category. So it just depends. Longer is better. If it's 12 months or more, my guidance to the seller would probably be, if it's 12 months or less, if your business is continuing to grow, then it may be a good idea to just keep running it and grow your earnings and then think about an exit, because the higher your earnings, the more money you're going to get paid.
Perfect.
So and again, just reach out to me directly, and happy to go over it and have a chat and provide advice. Cool.
Yep, we just got a couple more slides, so hang in there, everybody. I think we're on step 4 out of 5, and keep the questions coming. Go ahead.
Awesome. So this is the deal process as we run it. I'd say 30-day closing for a simple kind of US-based Amazon business with not a great number of SKUs, and all the information is kind of readily available. Closing the deal within 30 days is really, really achievable. The first step is, we'll meet a buyer, we'll sign a non-disclosure agreement, so we're not going to talk about it to anyone. They'll provide some basic information like revenue, what the Amazon account and products are, and high-level financials. We'll then form up a letter of intent, which sets out how much we're going to pay for the business, what are the key conditions of our offer, and kind of the exclusivity process. If that's accepted and signed, we've got information requests that we kind of request from the buyer to provide us, bunch of financial accounts, shipping invoices, bank statements, all that sort of stuff. And then we'll spend about a week and a half kind of verifying the financials. So no buyer will trust a seller. Our kind of mantra is trust but verify. So if you give us your accounts, we're going to go back and verify that everything you've told us is true and accurate. The next step in underwriting is once you've confirmed the numbers are good, we'll meet the factory and the supplier and make sure they're happy to work with Recom going forward. We'll draft the asset purchase agreement, which is the legal document to kind of transfer the assets over to the Recom and dictates how the purchase price works. We'll sign the contract. We send our money to a third-party lawyer in escrow, and then we start the asset transfer process. So that's assigning over the Amazon account, assigning over the Shopify store, Facebook, all those sorts of things. And then once all those assets have been transferred to Recom, we release the cash. And then typically there's a few things that happen post-close which take a little bit longer, like assigning the trademark and those sorts of things. So yeah, 30 days is really achievable if it's a simple account. And the key is for a buyer is when you go through this process, you need the seller to confirm that every week or every day that passes, there's not an issue that can kill the deal, because otherwise it potentially just wastes your time. So the deal close and transition process, assigning over an Amazon account from the seller to the buyer can be really complicated. And if you don't get it right, like you can be locked out of the Amazon account. And if a buyer can't log into the Amazon account, have they really bought the Amazon account from you? And it creates this sort of legal problem. The longest, we've done this a bunch and we have a set process about how we do it. But that said, like we have had circumstances where, I've spent 2 days on the phone to seller support trying to get everyone access back to the account. So when you meet a buyer, just ask them like, what's your strategy for account migration? Because those that know what they're doing, they'll have a plan, and those that don't, they won't know what you're talking about. The other key things with deals and closing is if the buyer wants you to stick around in a transition period, really just clearly define exactly what they want you to do. You've sold the business to them. Recom, we've got a team in place so we can manage the asset, but we're also open for buyers being involved in the future if that's something that they want to do. So define that up front and make sure it's really clear. And then the second thing I'd say is if there's an earnout or performance payment as part of the deal, make sure that you've got access to the information so that you can verify that, the seller's going to report that data accurately to you. So cool. That's the 5 steps. If you're contemplating selling or you're preparing for selling, please reach out to me either through the website or jeremy@recombrands.com. We love to chat to sellers. We love to provide, good kind of free advice. And if you're interested in selling right now, come and speak to us because the market's really hot. Multiples have kind of stepped up from last year. And, a lot of businesses are doing really well because 2020 was a really great year. So, yeah, thank you, everyone. And if you've got any more questions, happy to take them now.
Yeah, that was perfect, Jeremy. So, if there's any last questions, go ahead and hit us up. But if not, visit recombrands.com, and Jeremy be happy to answer anything for you if you're looking to exit your Amazon business, which I'm sure there are people are. And it sounds like the multipliers have gone up in the last year here, so definitely a good time to look at that or consider it. If anything, at least go through the process with them and see where you stand. Maybe he could give you some advice on to grow it a little bit further or a little bigger before you do exit. And that's where maybe AccrueMe could come into play. We could help you with some growth capital, and definitely looking to help fund and grow Amazon sellers out there. So Jeremy, thanks again. And everybody who's listening, every Thursday we will be live at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, 1 o'clock Eastern. This coming Tuesday on the podcast, I will be live on Tuesday at 10 o'clock Pacific Standard Time with Stephen Black. And be sure to hit us up next Thursday for 15 minutes of growth. I'll have another great guest on. So I really appreciate it, Jeremy. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.